that may not be possible to incorporate within the kind of consensus pattern of liberal democracy. Depends on individuals being strongly motivated morally through traditions. But if those traditions that sustain the individuals dissolve, the state, the liberal state itself, tries to be neutral. It's based on the model of science. It's based on a kind of scientific norm. The state is a technocratic structure to bring about services in a morally neutral manner, following the idea that in science you can separate values and facts. And so promoting the idea of tolerance of different social groups, but the state can itself give no cultural norms to people within it. And therefore, liberal states live on the capital of the past in terms of the religious teachings of the Jewish and the Christian and other religious traditions. As those break down, then there's nothing to take their place. And it's very doubtful that this kind of society can survive for very long, in my opinion. I think if we just have an extrapolation of present trends, dissolution of the social order, rising population in the third world, exhaustion of resources, pollution of the planet, destruction of long-term reserves of everything in terms of short-term consumption, then we'll see a collapse, at least, of our civilization and the present political and social order, massive famine, appalling disasters, in fact, a kind of apocalyptic scenario of destruction. And it may not be uniformly spread. I mean, there may be places in the world where you hardly know it's going on. Just read about it in the newspapers. As it is indeed at present. There are terrible things happening in Africa with famines and civil wars, but they hardly touch us. So it may be that things will start falling apart in Africa and in other parts of the world, while people in Western Europe may go on quite comfortably for a bit longer. But I don't think we can be insulated forever from these things. And so I think the present order is doomed, but what will take its place is not at all clear to me. Whether the present kind of system, the present kind of state, has the ability to reform itself.
Or is delivered to chaos.
Well, chaos doesn't usually last long. I mean, people don't like chaos. Like in Russia, they don't like chaos, and they've got chaos now. So it's only a matter of time before you have kind of neo-fascist dictatorships springing up, I suppose.
In one of your books, you had a quotation from Jacques Monod.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read it. Man must at last wake out of his millenary dream and discover his total solitude, his fundamental isolation. He must realize that, like a gypsy, he lives on the boundaries of an alien world, a world that is deaf to his music and as indifferent to his hopes as it is to his sufferings and his crimes. Why did you quote him?
Well, because Monod represents very clearly and puts very explicitly the natural outcome of a kind of mechanistic, materialistic view of nature and of humanity. This is the natural outcome. Most people don't think it through to its logical conclusion, but if you do, this is the logical conclusion. This is the development of the movement started by Galileo and Descartes, which has now worked itself out in our society and indeed has been exported to the rest of the world as a view of reality. Those are its consequences. And Monod just makes them very clear and very explicit. I quoted it because he does so with such clarity.
We have to wake up from our 1,000 years dream and come to terms with our existential loneliness. The world is as deaf to our music and as indifferent to our illusions as it is to our suffering and our crimes. Pleasant neighborhood, Hampstead. The people are friendly and polite. The best anticipation machines, Daniel Dennett calls them. The best denial machines, Rupert Sheldrake calls them. Every day we can see that we are preparing for disaster, but we back away and turn a blind eye. What we've got now is obviously more important than what we'll be missing tomorrow. A bizarre invention is what Stephen Jay Gould calls people. We mustn't think that our consciousness was an intentional creation only because it's so powerful. Our tape does not follow the paths of logic. Sheldrake has spoken his epilogue, "The present order is doomed," before we've even touched upon his ideas. His revolutionary ideas about evolution and consciousness. How we, our society, possibly end up is painfully obvious. But how did we get here? In that question lies the essence of Sheldrake's controversial theory. As if we are starting all over again, we return to that question.
Get up and dance. Get up and dance. Come on, don't be afraid. Get up. Dance. Let the world be a stage. Dance in the rhythm of life. Come on, get up and dance. Come on and dance. Don't be afraid. Come on, move. Get up. Do your thing. Dance. Dance. Dance in the rhythm of life. Come on. Move. Yeah. Dance. 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 Let the world be a stage. Dance in the rhythm of life. Move.
Genetically and physically, we are all more or less the same, said Oliver Sacks in New York. But as a narrator, each of us is unique. We are nothing else but storytellers, Daniel Dennett will say in Noord and Dover. Narratives form our consciousness, not our consciousness, the narratives. Sheldrake's approach is different. We are built up of memories of our own life, but also of the life long before we were born. Those memories form our narratives and, finally, our consciousness. And this is all very well and fine with me. But what does Sheldrake mean by memories? What memories do we consist of? What stories did we know even before we came from the womb? Or, according to Sheldrake, from before we were even conceived? That question is at the basis of all his theories. As a start, I ask him where our memories are stored.
Well, I think that where's the wrong question. Memory is a phenomenon of relation in time. And when we see that memory is principally to do with the interrelation of events in time, it's not immediately obvious that the question where plays much part in this. You see, where is memory stored immediately traps us in a whole set of spatial metaphors, and the problem is that we think of time in terms of spatial metaphors, the near future, the distant past. And so people think, well, there must be a memory store. So where is the memory store? Is it in the brain? Is it in the Akashic records, as the Theosophists would say, in some kind of ethereal realm beyond the normal realm? But all of these are ways of trying to find a place for memory. Well, I don't think it is in a place. I think it's a relation in time. I don't think it's stored in the brain, you see. I think we tune into our memories, that we directly tune into them involving a kind of transmission in time. This is a key part of my particular theory of morphic resonance. So memories are not exactly in places. I think that the past is potentially present everywhere.